Welcome to the course on R programming. In this session, we will talk about the Unit 2 and its contents and few topics in Unit 2. As you have learned, R programming is a statistical programming language mainly meant for doing the data analysis. What we will do exactly in data analysis? In data analysis, we are going to take a real-time data from any organization and we are going to analyze that data. We are going to read the data in column-wise, row-wise, and we are going to group the data, and by performing various statistical analysis methods, we are going to extract the information, and that information we are going to represent in the form of graphs or in the form of some other table formats. Come to the Unit 2 topics. First we will talk about the class. We'll talk about what is this attribute class and why we use this one and how this is useful for data analysis. Next is coercion. Coercion is nothing but data type conversion. We know that R programming has 6 different data types named vector, list, array, matrices, data type. We know that R programming has 6 different types of data. Those are double, integer, logical, raw, complex, and character type. This coercion talks about how this conversion is going to happen from one data type to another data type. And an important data structure we are going to learn is list, and we have already studied that we have 5 important data structures in R programming. Those are vectors, lists, arrays, matrices, and data frames. In this chapter or in this unit, we are going to learn 2 data structures, lists and data frames. And further, in this chapter, we are going to learn, and further we are going to talk about loading and saving the data. Loading in the sense, a real-time data is going to be available in the form of different files, and those files we have to load it into our environment. In generally, that environment is R Studio. This is an integrated development environment, IDE, and this IDE or simply editor is going to be used to perform various tasks. So how to load the data into this R Studio we are going to learn, and after performing the various operations, how we have to save the data into our hard disk or into other file formats. We are going to learn those things in this topic. And another important point is selecting the values. Means how to extract the values from various data structures such as vectors, lists, arrays, matrices, and data frames. Once we load the data, if I wanted to extract a few rows or few columns or a particular record, how we have to extract that one? We are going to learn those methods, and we are going to see an application on deck of cards. we know all playing cards. How these playing cards are going to be implemented in a programming language, and how simple tasks we can do using R programming, we are going to see in this unit. And finally, we will learn about usage of dollar symbol and double bracket. Dollar symbol and double bracket. When we use this dollar symbol and when we use this double bracket, what is the purpose of these things? These are the topics in unit 2. Come to the objectives and outcomes. By seeing this session or learning these topics, the student should able to get the familiarity with a word called the class or the attribute class, and what is factor and what is coercion, how this coercion is going to happen in R, what are the rules of this coercion we are going to learn, and usage of the lists and data frames in real-time tasks. If any task is given, that task, how these lists or data frames fits to perform the task, we are going to learn that. And doing some real-time data analysis, like loading the data and cleaning the data, accessing the data, understanding the data, these things are going to be expected from the student. And ultimately, different ways of selection methods to extract the data, how we are going to extract the data from various methods or from various data structures with different methods. These are the things a student should able to perform after completing this lecture. So, come to the first topic, that is class. What this class attribute actually tells us? This tells us a format of our object. Here, in generally in R programming, when we create an R object, we are going to check its data type with the help of type of. This type of will give us the data type of the data, such as double or integer or character or complex. Like this, the type of function is going to return us what is the type of the data. But this class is going to give us the format of that object, because data type is different and format is going to be different. You are going to see what I mean. What is the need of this class actually? R is a free language and it's going to be come up with the more number of predefined functions. It means already developed functions, and the predefined functions are going to work based on the class type. For example, a function is there. If you want to perform that, if you want to apply that function on a particular data, that data class should be suitable to perform that function. And if the data's class is different and the output is going to be different. So ultimately, the output of the function depends on the type of the class. So because of this, the class is going to be an important attribute in our programming. And how we can able to know the class of any R object with the help of the function class. If we give the class and an R object, it's going to give us what is the type of that R object. You are going to see the examples. See, this is example. This is an interesting example. In first command, what we have done, we have used the function called the sys.time. In sys package, we have time function and we have called that function. This function is going to return us the current date and time, and that is stored in variable called the now, and the data is in this manner, the date. It's giving the date August 6th 2020, and this is 3, that is 15th hour and 7 minutes and 42 seconds and Indian Standard Time. So this sys.time function is going to return the time, the current time it's going to return. And if we check the class type of this variable now, you are going to see a special name called the POSIX CT and POSIX T. We need not to get into the depth of these words actually, POSIX CT and POSIX T, but anyway we will discuss what it is. And if you check what is the type of this now, you got the output is double. Oh. So here you have understand the what is the importance of this class. This is the data and it is actually represented in double only according to the data type, but its class, in the sense its format is in time format, date and time format. It's in years, months and days, seconds, minutes, hours. In this format it has displayed. If the data is not in this format, how it is going to look like? You will see that. If the data's class type is not POSIX CT, then it's going to be represented in this manner. I'll explain what it is. Right. We have seen that in previous slide, the time data type or time class type is POSIX CT. What is this POSIX CT or POSIX T is? It's a framework developed by our community to represent the time. To represent the date and time, they have developed a proper framework and they named it as POSIX CT. How this works? This works in this manner. It is going to count the time from 1971 January, year 1971 January, and the time 12 AM onwards. How many seconds are completed from this date and this time to till now? How many seconds are completed? That entire seconds it is going to count, and those seconds are further divided into a particular format called the year, month, day and hours, minutes, seconds. In this format it is going to divide. If we don't convert this into that format, or if we don't use that format, what we are going to get is we are going to get a raw number of seconds. What we are going to get? We are going to get a raw number of seconds. That raw number of seconds are this one. This is going to be a huge number, and if you convert this one into years and months and days, you are going to get the same date. So This is what the type of class. I'd like to repeat the things. Class tells about the format of the data or format of the R object. Here example we have taken time object and its format is POSIX-CT or its class type is POSIX-CT. What exactly this POSIX-CT? It is the format to represent the date and time, and this date and time is going to be calculated from 1971st January 12 AM to till the second when we executed that command sys.time. It's going to count the number of seconds, and after counting that seconds it's going to put that seconds into a proper format called the years, months, days and hours, minutes, seconds. In this format it is going to put. Because of that, if you do this unclass function or if you execute this unclass function on the variable now, it is going to give us the seconds. This is nothing but the seconds. Why we got these seconds? In the sense, we have removed the POSIX-CT type from this now. Before this function, before calling this unclass function, the class type of now variable is POSIX-CT, and when we executed the function unclass, we are removing that POSIX-CT class type from this variable, and once we remove that format, it is going to be in its own data type or its own format, that is going to be double, and the double is nothing but just numbers, and that number is this one. These many seconds are completed till 1971st January to today or that day. So this is the explanation of the class type. We'll see what are the other different types we have. That is class types. We have regular data types, and regular data types are, they have their special formats, and the special formats are named as same data types, such as character type, numerical type, list type. But when you see this matrix, this is something different, because matrix has a special format. That format is two-dimensional one. So the data may be a double type, the numbers only. It can be a vector of double values, but those are arranged in two-dimensional manner with n by m matrix, with n rows and m columns. Because of that, the format is different. So that's why the datas are the R objects, class type is going to be matrix, and we can create the functions, and that function we are going to store it in a variable, in general R. So that variable class type is a function type, so we can see it as a function. And we have a special thing called the factor. You are going to learn about this factor. Factor is another format for string type or character type, and the character type is specially treated in this factor format, and we will see that one. So like this, we have a general regular data types and as well as some special formats. So when we have an R object, we have to check that what is its data type and as well as what is its class type. By knowing this class type, we can understand that what are the different functions we can apply on the data. For example, if the class type is matrix, we can perform linear algebra operations like finding the matrix multiplication or inverse of the matrix, like this. We'll quickly discuss what is the difference between a data type and class type. So we have in R these different data types like double, integer, character, complex, logical and raw type. These are the data types. The data is going to be represented in this manner, but this data can be in different formats. For example, double type is there. This double type can be in POSIX CT format or matrix format or an array format, which is a multi-dimensional array or matrix. So like this, the same double type can be in different formats. So this is the difference between data types and the class type. And to know the data type, we have a function called the typeof, and to know the class type, we have a function called the class. And here are some examples of data type and class type. If we see, I have created a vector, a normal vector, and the values which I have taken 1, 2, 3, 4, and its type is double type, it's giving us, and the class type is numeric. And here I have created a vector with floating values 1.2, 2.3 and 4.5, and I have checked what is the type of this one. The data type is double only and the class type numeric. Same. And here I have taken integer values, and we know that integer values are represented with capital L, and its data type is integer and class type is also integer, and character type and class type is also character, and logical and class type is also logical. And complex type, and its type is also complex. Come to this one. Here I have created a matrix. To create the matrix, I am using the function called the matrix. Okay, and to this matrix I am passing a vector with the data type is double only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 values I have passed, and I passed an argument called the number of rows equal to 2. Means these 6 values have to be divided into 2 rows. If we do that one, we are going to get 2 rows and 3 columns, 2 by 3 matrix. And if you observe, the matrix is going to be in this manner: 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, 6. This is something strange here. This is a column major matrix. So if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 values, the column major in the sense the values are first arranged in column manner: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we make by row equal to true, that is row major one, this is going to represent like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is row major matrix and this is column major matrix. So basically here it has shown a column major matrix and its type is double and its class type is matrix. This is the point I wanted to notify. So here the data type is double and the class type is matrix because the values are double values only, but they are in different format, and that format is a matrix format. So this is how we can able to check a class type of any R object. And here is an example with a list. How we can create a list? Here we can see we have a function called the list and we have passed a vector, a numerical vector, a character vector and a list itself. Okay, and its type is list and its class is also a list. Now come to another important attribute called the factor. So here see the example. We have created a vector with 4 strings. The strings are, one is male and another one is female, and these two repeated another time. So in generally this is going to be a character vector or a string vector. Character vector we call, and its type is character and its class is character. But when we have converted this character vector format to factor format, I am repeating the sentence, when I convert this character vector to factor format, then you are going to see the class type is factor. How I can do that one? With the help of the function called the factor. This vector 7 I have passed to factor function, and that factor function has changed the format of this character vector, and that format is stored in another variable vec7 underscore fac, and its class type when we checked it is showing it as factor, right? But what exactly this factor format? This factor format shows that how many unique values are available in this character vector. Here we have 4 character strings, actually 4 strings we have, but the unique values are only 2. Those are female and male, and these 2 only repeated. Because of that, the factor what it is doing is it is showing the levels. These levels will tell us that how many unique values are available in this character string. So if we have a character vector and if we convert that into factor, we can simply identify that how many unique words or how many unique strings are available that is represented in the form of levels. When this is useful means when we are talking with objective data generally, okay? And here we can simply know that one how many unique types are available. This is about factor. Now we'll come to the next topic called the coercion. As I told you, coercion is data type conversion. So this question talks about converting the data from one data type to another data type, and this is in two ways, explicitly and implicitly. And here explicit is very simple thing. This is an example for explicit thing. What we have done, we have created a character vector with numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. I put them in double quotes. When I put them in double quotes, that is going to be represented in character format, and if you check with the help of typeof, it is showing it as character type. But if I wanted to convert these characters into numerical one, I have a function called the as.double. I wanted to convert this vector type explicitly with the help of a function as.double from character vector to double type, and this is converted, and when I check that vector type, it is going to be shown as double. So explicit conversion is always going to be in format of the new data type and the object. The data type conversion format is going to be as dot, and after this dot we have to write down which data type you wanted to convert, to which data type you wanted to convert. Here is, I have mentioned it as double. If I wanted to convert it into some other type like complex, or like data frame, or like list, or matrix, any other thing, those are all functions are available, predefined functions. Those are as dot matrix, we can write like this, or as dot data frame, and this manner we can able to convert one type to another type. But this is explicit conversion. Okay, we have implicit conversion also, we'll see that. Implicit conversion. Implicit conversion in the sense, without giving any intimation to the user, the R interpreter itself will convert the data type of the data. This is interesting one. Without giving any information to the user, the R interpreter itself will convert the data type. And if we do not know these things, we will be in trouble when we are working with the different types of data. This is a simple diagram which will tell that, okay, which data type is going to be converted to which type. Here it is showing that the logical type is going to be treated or converted to numerical type. That is, logical value true is treated as 1 and logical false is treated as 0. And the numerical values further is going to be converted to character type. It is showing, and how this is going to happen we'll see with an example. See this example. Here in first command, what we have done, we have created a vector 1. Okay, in this vector 1, what I have done is I have taken 1, 2, 3 as double type, and an extra data I have taken, that is a string, is red. When I print this vector 1, I got this output. What did you observe? You might have observed that the numbers 1, 2 and 3 are not represented in this manner. They have represented in double quotes. And you know that when anything is represented in double quotes, it is treated as a string type. But here we have given in numerical format, we have given in double format. But what happened? R has converted them into string type. Why? Because vector is homogeneous data type, homogeneous data structure. This is an important thing. Vector is a homogeneous data structure, in the sense a vector can contain only one data type. Because of that, when I passed two data types, one is double, another one is character, the R has to choose one data type which is flexible to that is the R interpreter. And the flexible data type for R is character type. So this data is converted to character type, and it has shown in the format characters only. We'll see in another example. Okay, here again we have given a double values 3, 1, 2, 3 and a character type and a logical type. These three are double type. This is string type, and this is logical type. These three I kept it into a one vector, and I'm asking the R to choose or display the data. What happened? Everything is converted to string type. And let's see another example. I have added an integer type also. This is int type. This is complex type. This is logical type. This is string type. And I already told you these are double type. So all different types I have kept it in one vector, and I'm asking the R to display this data. What it has done? It has converted every value into a string type. So you might have observed that what is the dominant data type? Here in R, the dominant data type is character. In a vector, whatever the data types you use, among the data types, if you keep one character type, and it converts all others to character type automatically and displays the data. This is going to happen implicitly. So here the dominant data type in all these examples is string type. In general we call it as a character type. Because of that, when I check the data type of anything, it's going to show it as character type only. This is all happening implicitly. We'll see if I don't use this character type, what will be the next dominant type. See this example. Here I have passed 3 double values and 1 logical value and 1 integer value and 1 complex value. And when I ask the R to display the data, it has displayed every value in the form of 1 plus 0i. This is complex type. Complex type. So every data, if you take 1 has shown in the form of 1 plus 0i, 2 plus 0i, 3 plus 0i. True is converted into numeric, and again 0i it has given, and 20 plus 0i, and this is already which we have given our data. It means that rest of all other values are converted it into complex type. And you need to notice that we have not added string type or character type. If we would have added the character type, all are going to be converted into character type only. So we have left that one and we are checking with other types. Now it is showing us that complex is the next dominant thing and rest of all values have converted it into an imaginary part and the real part, two parts. Okay. And later if we check what are the next dominant type, this is a numeric type, that is double, okay, and this is a logical one. This is numeric. So if you see the output, it is showing as 1. What is this actually data? This is true, a logical value, but this logical value has transformed or converted it into numeric type. And logical values we have two only, that is true and false, and the true is converted as 1 and false is converted as 0. In this manner, next data type is numeric one. So if we represent it in a single shot, the data type conversion is going to be in this way. That is, first dominant is character type, this is the greater than. After this character type, complex is the next dominant one, and the next dominant is numeric, and final, the lowest thing is the logical. So this is how the coercion rule, this is how the coercion rule can be written. This is the way. Right, now we came to the end of this session. In this session, first we have learnt what are the main topics of the unit 2, and then we have started learning about class attribute. The class attribute we have seen, and we have learnt that class is going to convert, or it's used to display the format of the data. It tells the format, and in this format we have discussed one important format is date and time format. Date and time format, that is POSIX CT. POSIX CT. These are the keywords under this topic, class attribute. And the other things are matrices, arrays, etc., data frames. These are all the different class types. Next we have discussed about another attribute called the factor. Here it's going to represent in levels. What data? Character data or string data. In a column or in a vector, how many unique strings are available, that it is going to represent if you convert the character vector into factor type. This is another format. And a third topic we have discussed is coercion, that is type conversion. Type conversion. And we know that when it is in two types, one is explicit and another one is implicit. Explicit, we have functions, the format is going to be as dot, here data type, for example double, or as dot data frame. This is going to be the explicit type conversion format. And implicit conversion, the hierarchy is going to be first dominant data type is character type. Second dominant data type is complex, and the third one is numeric. So this is how in this session we have learnt these 3 topics. We'll see the important data structures, lists and data frames in next session. Thank you for watching.